Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Letzar, happy to host this session today. And of course, joined by my trusted colleague, Vern Schellinger, who is a master networker, and we are here to support your job search journey. So small crowd today, but that's all right, because we'll help whoever needs help. So who has got a question for us to address? Lynn, do you got one to start
I
us off?
do. So as I'm looking at job postings and the companies and finding out who is at that company that I or my first level contact and LinkedIn could have would have a contact, is it preferable that, I guess there's many layers, but trying to find the person who's closest to the company,
Right.
but who is the most senior
Right.
level? Is that the approach, who can help shepherd my resume?
Yeah. So are you talking about the person that ultimately you want to see your resume, or the person that's your contact that you want to shepherd, or both?
Both. Like,
Both.
how do
Okay.
I
Yeah.
ultimately
How do
get
you
that person
figure
to
it out?
notice my resume? Like,
Yeah.
what's the best channel to
Right.
approach?
So there's two sides to this. Okay. So there's ultimately the person in the organization, like who is the best person. Then there's who's the best person that you know, like your first level contact to shepherd it. Okay, it's two different populations. So let's start with the people in the company. So to me, there are three best categories of people. Okay, and I'll explain each one. I mean, they're going to sound obvious when I say them, but here are the three. The number one executive, like the CEO, okay, the hiring manager, and the HR and or recruiter. Okay. So to me, those are the three best people.
Yes.
The thing about the CEO, right?
Yes.
Is that that person is going to pass your resume.
That's for value service, right?
Scott, can you, I'm just going to mute you. Okay. So that person is going to push your resume down, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything that comes to the CEO or the COO, right? Number two person, somebody's going to say, oh, okay, fine. I'll take a look. The CEO mentioned them, happy to look at them. The hiring manager, obviously, right? I mean, that's the best choice, right? Because that's the person who's going to be, right, screening your resume. And look, a lot of hiring managers are hopeful that somebody is going to recommend somebody their way. Like that's just the way it is. They're like, oh, like a trusted person in my world, pass somebody along. The HR person and or the recruiter is obviously a really great source, right? Because they're the people who are on the front line. I will tell you that those folks, and it's great to pass them along. However, the HR person, the recruiter, they really appreciate it when the hiring manager or the C-suite person passes something along to them. There's like an extra level of credibility there.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay, yeah, that those people feel, because HR and recruiters, they're the screeners. And so yes, it's great, send it along. But when somebody else says as a third party, I really want you to vet this person, that can be very helpful. But any of those people, and by the way, all of those people, you can get your resume to every single one. There is no such thing as being too much of a squeaky wheel. In fact, years ago, I've shared this story before. Years ago, I was on a panel with several other recruiters. Okay, we were a recruiter panel, and we were actually we were teaching. Watch this. We were teaching HR people how to look for a job. So right, it was a group of HR people. They were job seekers. We recruiters were helping them, which is kind of funny, right? Anyway, it was me and a few other recruiters, and I remember one of them was sharing her own. One of these recruiters was sharing her own story about how she landed her own job. And she said she had, no kidding, 5 people recommend her for this role.
Wow.
And by the time they got to the second or third, like, okay, we'll meet it right as she got the job, because it was just that many people were recommending her. So if you have a connection to the CEO, the hiring, anybody, let everybody put your resume forward. Okay. Now, secondarily to that would be basically anybody else. Somebody in another department, somebody like whatever, just anybody who works. So if you don't have a connection, to the CEO, the HR person, the hiring manager, right? Or the HR person, then feel free to just go to whomever. On the
Okay.
other side of it, then there's who should you connect with? Who's the first level? Now, remember, when you have a first level connection, there's your relationship to that person, and there's that person's relationship to the person internally.
Right.
Two different things. Obviously, you want to go for the people who you are closest to, right? Because those are the people who want to help you, they're going to champion you. That's kind of obvious. But of course, you don't know what their relationship is to that internally. You never know. So I know that you and I shared a story this week, right?
Yes.
Where you have an opportunity and you found the person internally, I guess the hiring manager, right? His person's name is Karen, right? If I recall. Is that right?
Christina,
Christina.
And I can share that story because it
Please,
was kind of.
I think it's very encouraging. I think people would really appreciate it.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm like a rookie in all of this. So I'm learning, I'm absorbing a lot and trying to process. But this is a case where I saw a job posting that I was really interested in. I researched the company and I looked at my contacts in LinkedIn to see who had some connection to people at that company. And my former boss from 20 years ago, really, whom I worked with for 10 years. So he and I knew each other really, really well. I saw that he has a connection with someone who had that job previously. And so I was interested in talking to her to find out more about this position that she had held. And so I reached out to him and he responded right back and said, let's talk. And it turns out that this woman, Christina, had worked with him at his company for a short time. So although he didn't know her well, because she was only there for 6 months, he knew another staff who knew her really well. So by his recommendation, I met another person at his company. And the fact that Steve had told Piper, talk to In, she's great. I've known her, she's solid. So when Piper and I first met, because she was going to be the one who's going to help me connect to Christina. It was as if like we were old buddies because I got that imprimatur from Steve. And so it was just really nice to connect with her and then explain what I was trying to do. And she said, no problem. I know Christina for 7 years. I'll connect you. And then by like the next business day, practically, she forwarded my email to Christina. Christina responded, and then Christina and I had a really good talk. So I learned a lot about what that position entailed. And then separately, so she was also the person who had left that job was still very friendly with her boss, who would be the boss that this position would be reporting to. And so I asked her, and I was a little shy about it, but I had to ask her, like, because that's what I learned. Would you feel comfortable forwarding my resume to your boss? And I am going to apply online and go through all those channels, but it would be great if you wouldn't, if you're willing to do that. And she said, absolutely. And so I applied online. I sent her a copy of my resume to her. And then she responded back, the next day, like confirming receipt, I will send it to her. So I don't know where it'll go, but at least I tried that connection and we'll see where it lands. But first of all, it was my first application, after all this time. So I was really excited. And the fact that this networking, talking to several people to finally get there or, was encouraging. So
it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. And I think
it broke the ice. So now I feel like I'm still not, an old pro at it, but I feel like it gave me the confidence to try other avenues like that.
That's exactly right. I'm so glad you shared that because it's something that we preach here a lot, right? In terms of making connections with people whether it's, like in your case, it was happened to be your boss, right? Who was connected, and you hadn't even talked to your old boss in a long time.
Long time. I
Yeah, like
mean,
it's like 10 years
15
or
years.
something, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
Right. So, as Shira said, I do a lot of work in networking, and the name of the company is Contacts Count. And the tagline for Contacts Count is the power of human connection. So I love when I hear stories like this, because this just confirms that there's so much power in connecting with other
There is.
people, even people that you don't know well, or right.
Right.
And good things can happen. So it's a great story. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Hope it's an encouragement to people. And so, whether it's a story like that with connected to your old boss from 10 years ago, right? Or if it's, even something you don't know very, very well, it's worth the outreach. Even if it's somebody you don't really, even if it's someone you don't know well, because, there are plenty of people out there these days who are willing to help.
Yeah.
They're willing to make a connection. I mean, I
Yeah.
had it happen with somebody on this call. We used to have somebody on this call he used to be here for a long time. And she reached out to me privately. Okay. And she goes, "Hey, Shira, I'm applying to XYZ organization. I noticed on LinkedIn you're connected to Susie, right? Could you, see what's happening?" She gave me a whole story about the job, and the job was, I don't know, the job had changed, whatever. Anyway, she wanted me to find out some information about this role. I reach out to this Susie person who I didn't even know hardly at all. I mean, we were just first level connection. And I did. And that woman was very lovely. And she writes me like, "She's sure, I'm happy to check it." And she did. She went to the hiring manager. She found out all the stuff and wrote me back. And I was able to but this person on our call had no idea if I knew this person, right? And that woman extended herself. She was just very kind and gracious, even though she didn't know me well. She was just a kind-hearted person and was willing to go the extra mile. You never know. You never know who's going to be able to be a person to help you.
And lots of people, obviously, if they've ever gone through job search before, certainly are sympathetic to anybody
Right.
going through the job search process, right?
Right.
How can I help you? Because they know what it's like to be in the job search process, and they know how thankful they are when somebody is able to help them or connect them. And so
Exactly. So whenever you have any sort of connection, just do the outreach. Now, of course, relationship rules apply. Obviously, the way you reach out to your former boss is going to be a little different than somebody you've never met before. Clearly, but just do the relationship thing, because look, LinkedIn is just a database, right? That's all that it is. You've got to actually think of things relationally, but understand that there are some people who are going to be helpful. Not everybody. Not everybody has the time. Not everybody's going to see your LinkedIn message. So that's the other thing you want to think about is when you are looking at your second level person, right? And then you look for your first level mutual contact. Because when you have a first level mutual contact, that means that 99 times out of 100, you'll be able to see the contact information of that first level person, meaning you should be able to get their email address. Okay. If you get their email, write them an email. Because the reality is a lot of people just don't check LinkedIn. The fact is, with LinkedIn, you actually have to go into the portal to check it. A person might get a notification on their phone if they've set it up their way, which not everybody has set up automatic notifications on LinkedIn. I happen to, because I'm on it a lot, but a lot of people don't. It'll be months, right, before they see that message. Whereas email, of course, people check regularly. So for those of you who don't know how to do this, I just want to pull it up real fast. Just because we are a public call here, so there are a lot of people who may be viewing this offline. So what you do is you would go. So I'm gonna pull up Vern. Okay. All right. So Vern and I are first level, as you might imagine, and because Vern and I are first level, I can click the contact info button, and here's his email. Right. So anytime, just in general, anytime you're looking for your first level person's contact info, that's a great place to look. Now, here's the caveat. Every once in a while, that person might actually turn this feature off. In other words, there are some people who are so private, so confidential, that they don't even want their first level people knowing what their email address is. It's very rare. It does happen. but most of the time you will be able to find this person's email. Now, Vern went the extra step and put his phone number and his website, as well he should, because he's in business, right? Most people just have their email address, but even so, right, it's better than nothing. So I would absolutely recommend, you can do both, by the way. You can send a LinkedIn message and you can send an email, because you never know which they're going to say. Okay. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
So how could build a network?
I'm sorry, Kumar, can you say that again, please? A little louder?
How could you build a network? See, as of now, I searched the job on my own. Okay.
I am so sorry. I'm not quite understanding what you're saying. I apologize. Vern,
Yeah,
did you get the question?
No.
I will. So what I'm telling, as of now, I searched the job on my own.
You said you're searching for a job on your own. Is that what you said?
Yeah. No. Yeah. In the previous companies, whatever.
So
Okay.
maybe, and Kumar, maybe can you put your question in the chat box? I might be
Yeah.
able to understand it a little bit better. I apologize for not understanding your question. Happy to help you. Okay, so while we're waiting for Kumar to put his question in the chat. So as of now, you're searching for a job on your own. Okay. It's very helpful to use LinkedIn as well. That's what we're trying to share with you here. So if you are looking for an opportunity, you want to build your network. Yeah. So it's building your network is very important. In fact, let me give you another tip here. So one of the easiest ways to build your network, when you're on your homepage, okay, if you go to the My Network tab, which is in the top masthead, what will happen is, sorry, it's circling here. I'll wait for it to populate. Okay, so what will happen here is on the My Network page, you're going to see different categories of people. So like, for example, it says people you may know from the University of Maryland, which that's where I went to school. People you may know from the DC area, which is where I live. School alumni, people with similar jobs. Okay, great. Actually, people with similar jobs are great people to connect with, because those are the people who can give you a lot of referrals, because they might hear of opportunities that are not right for them, but are right for you. The point, though, is that you should regularly go, Kumar, I would invite you to regularly go through this list. And anytime you see somebody that you've met at any point, go ahead and connect with them. That's a very easy way to build your network. Now, I will give you a tip.
Yeah, build the network in India. So I'm looking the job in India itself.
Sure. So, which is fine, because when you pull up this page, it will, like, I'm guessing it'll probably have a lot of people in India, because I'm guessing those are probably most of the people that you know, which is fine. So, because this is my list because of where I live, but your list likely will have people in India. So when you do this, I'm guessing you're going to find people that you're somewhat connected with. So understand that this whole list here, all of these people are second level contacts, second level, meaning that LinkedIn looks at this list and says, oh, well, because Shira has all these first level contacts, likely these people, these second level contacts who know her first level contacts might be in her network. And so I say that because they're all second levels, which means you have a mutual first level connection. So what you can do is this, instead of just sticking with this page and hitting the connect button, if you hit the connect button right here, it's going to send them a generic invitation. It's just going to say, would you join my, my professional network on LinkedIn? If you'd like to personalize the invitation, click on the person's name, open up their profile. In this case, it's asking you to follow them. If you want to actually connect with them, you can hit the more button, hit the connect button down here, and then you can add a note. and you can just write them a quick message. You have 300 characters, not 300 words, 300 characters to work with. And what you could do is, if you want to really personalize it, what you can do is you can see who, oh, I guess they're not giving me the people in the middle. I'm sorry, why is this a third level person? That's very odd. These are only supposed to be second level people. I'm sorry. Let me pull up a second level person for you. Give me a minute, please. It's taking a while. Okay, here we go. So let's see, this person's second level. They're supposed to be, yes, second level. So if this is a second level person, I have mutual connections. See right here? All these people are mutual connections to me. So what I could do is I could open up my mutual connections, and there are 4 people here, okay? So let's say Andrea Kessler. Vern and I both know Andrea, right? So Andrea is my first level connection. What I can then do is, when I connect with Renee, I can add a note and say, hi, Renee, you and I are mutually connected through Andrea Kessler. And then I could say something else nice, you know, you and I looks like we have similar backgrounds, or I'd be very happy to add you to my network, but at least I'm personalizing it a little bit, and then I would send it. Okay. So I guess I'm just mentioning to you that when you're building your network, it's very helpful to just a little personalization to let that person know that you're somehow connected through somebody else. Okay. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah,
Sure.
so actually I'm new to this session actually. So I would like to know about you, like what is your professional?
I apologize. Can you ask the question one more time,
We'd like
please?
to know.
Yeah.
So
Can
I'm
you-
asking like,
Mhm.
yeah. So what exactly you do? What is your professional? What is your experience? I would like to know about you.
Are you talking about me personally? My
Yeah,
experience?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Certainly.
don't know actually.
Oh, certainly. I apologize for not introducing myself properly. So I have, I do 2 things. Well, I do lots of things, but there are 2 main things I do in my profession. I'm a recruiter. I've been a recruiter for over 25 years, and I'm also a career coach. And in my career coaching, I help people with resumes and LinkedIn profiles and interviewing and networking. Vern here, he's a former human resources executive, and he also is a career coach like me. And his specialty is helping people with their networking. So we lead this group together because we have a lot of experience working with job seekers and human resources people.
Yeah, good to know.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. All right, Ann, you have a question?
When you were showing us the LinkedIn, and you know, on my profile, I put, you know, looking ready to work, or whatever that.
Open to
you
work.
know,
Mhm.
Yeah, open to work, and I've now put some alerts so that I do get, I don't know if it's daily or every day, or but I get alerts about openings that through LinkedIn. And sometimes it'll say, I don't know if it depends on the account, but right now I've got a premium account, but it'll say something like, you match of the skills, and it highlights, maybe there's 10, it'll highlight maybe 5, like, you know, you match 5 of the 10 things, or, you know, and I realized I don't think in my LinkedIn, because I just looked, should I fill out the skills? Should I go back and activate in my profile?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I would go through the skill list, and I think you can put in up to 50.
Okay.
That you should put in 50, but you could put it up to 50. And I would pick the skills that are very, very relevant
Okay.
to you. And there's a couple of reasons. A, you're right. I think I should say I suspect that when LinkedIn pulls up jobs, they're going to be looking at that list. But also, when somebody else searches for you, and they put in the search bar and they're looking for you, and they put in keywords, my understanding is that LinkedIn will use in their algorithm, they will look at that list. So here's the thing, right? If you put business development, which is one of your skill sets, likely that those are some of the jobs that are going to come up. Now, you and I both know you're not looking for a classic business
Right.
development job. So
Right.
you just understand you're going to get random things. Okay. Because you're looking for something that's a little bit unusual, but they wouldn't know that.
Yep.
So you can put in BD, that's fine. And you can put in operations, that's fine too. And maybe any other skill set that you think, but understand that whatever skills you put in, let's say you put in project management. I don't know, maybe you're going to get project manager jobs. So I don't know how expansive this is and how LinkedIn looks and says, oh, let me give her 15 different kinds of jobs because she put in 15 different kinds of skills. I don't know to what extent it matches up the skills to the job board, to just be aware of that.
Right. Because what's interesting is, as of now, I don't think I did select any of the skills. And yet when I get those posts, it must glean from my profile, whatever I wrote,
Yeah,
some of the
that
words.
definitely does. It definitely
Okay, got it.
looks at titles.
Yeah.
For sure, it'll in fact, it looks at title. It's one of the first things it looks at. Actually, there's
Okay.
two things it looks at: your headline and your job titles.
Okay.
Those are the two main areas it pulls from. And I know that because when I've done searches as a recruiter, when I've done searches for people and I see the list that it comes up with, first and foremost, are the keywords in the headline. So let's say I'm looking for a director of marketing, okay? The first few pages of the list that comes up are people who have in their headline, director of marketing,
Mhm.
right? And then other people also who have director of marketing in their job titles. Okay, so just be aware, those are the two areas. And then I think and then it looks other places too, your about section, your skills, think keywords in your descriptions, right? But the headline and the job titles are the two main.
So as a recruiter, you're recruiting, right? So you recruited many students, many members. So when it is a technical interview, so would you be look for the like what you look into? You purely focus on the technical skills.
The last part of your question, do I focus on what again?
Technical skills are
Technical skills.
other skills you consider.
Yeah. So first of all recruiters are all different in what they look for. So I happen to recruit mostly for organizations in the Washington, D.C. area in the US. And I don't do technical search. I do searches for other kinds of people, like marketing people, government relations people, that kind of thing. So I don't do technical search. But people who are technical recruiters, that is exactly what they're looking for in there. And they're looking in your LinkedIn profile to see if you have the technical skills that they need. And so I would recommend, especially for people in the IT world, I don't know what your profession is, but if you are in IT, okay. So it's very important that in your LinkedIn profile, both in your headline, but also in your about section, that you list out all the different technical skills that you have, because recruiters are going to search for that, right?
Okay.
We absolutely are. So that's a great place to do that.
So that is fine. Apart from the technical skills, so what are the other skills they will focus?
Well, it depends on the job, right? Every recruiter is going to look for different things. There's no one way that they do it. So what happens is they have a job description, right? They're trying to find candidates for that job. Whatever those skills are, that's what they're looking for. So in an IT position, the first thing that they're looking for are IT skills. They're less concerned about other skills. They really want to know that you have this software program or this, engineering skill, or let's say it's a project manager, right? They might look for certain certifications like ITIL or whatever, any of those certifications. So in your profile, you need to have that. It's less important for them to see that you're, to see your soft skills, like you're organized or great customer service. They're not really focused there. They really want the hard skills, the technical skills that you have. So make sure that's very, very much layered into your profile.
Yeah. So why I asked is, so how could I improve on the soft skill point of view?
Don't worry. So in your LinkedIn profile and even in your resume, don't worry about your soft skills, because that's not actually what, and by the way, I'm saying this for everybody on this call. Okay, so please know, I'm not just talking to Kumar right now. Please, everybody listen up to this. This is very important. Most job seekers think that it's their soft skills that are going to get them the interview. That's not the case. Your hard skills, your functional skills, that's partly what gets you the interview. Your soft skills are what get you the job. In other words, when you are in the interview, that's where you highlight your soft skills. But your resume and your LinkedIn, you can mention them. In fact, in your about section, it's very nice to talk about who you are. When I write LinkedIn profiles, I do that all the time. But the hard skills, the technical, the functional skills need to show up so that that's what the recruiter is going to look at to say, is this person qualified? Is this person qualified? Can they do the job? In the interview, that's where they're interviewing you. They're listening for your soft skills. How does this person do the job? What's the cultural fit? Does that make sense? So particularly on your resume, focus on your hard skills. Especially on your resume, focus on the hard skills. That's what people are looking for. Vern?
Yeah, well, Kumar, in answer to your question, how do you improve your soft skills? As Shira said, the resume, kind of gets you in the front door. And then, if you've got the technical skills in the interview, that's when you're going to have to use your soft skills. One of the things Shira and I always say is, very likely in lots of interviews, you get asked the question, well, tell me about yourself. One of the ways that you can improve your networking and also be prepared for the interview is to sit down and write that out in a paragraph or two, not a novel. It's got to be a 30-second to 1 minute, maybe a little bit longer. When they say, tell me about yourself, then you're telling them about the type of person you are. Obviously, you might also include some of your technical skills and some of your accomplishments, but that's where they're going to begin to see your soft skills.
Got you.
On my LinkedIn, recruiters are reaching out to me. They read on my about. I did all the hard skill like media accounting. So I list what I have done on my previous job. They said all the skill very impressed me, and they reaching out and asked me to apply for the job. And that's where I got the job interview. They did asking me about my soft skill, like how do I fit into team, how I manage conflict, how do I deal with problem. So in the job interview, they did asking for soft skill.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's the interview that they will ask about the soft skills, but it's the hard skills that they're focused on in the resume. Now in LinkedIn, I will tell you that the about section is a good place to talk about who you are. It is a good place to talk about your soft skills, because to that question that Vern said, tell me about yourself. When a recruiter looks at your LinkedIn profile, here's how they do it. They look at your headline to see basically, is this person in the right profession and in the right industry? They jump down to your experience section, look at your job titles, look at the companies. Again, is this person just generally in the right profession, generally in the right industry? Then, if they like what they see in those two areas, then they might go to your about section. And if they go to the about section, they're looking for deeper. What's this person about? What are they looking for? Soft skill, anything about who you are. And that's why it's really helpful to have an about section that's very compelling. Not just 3 or 4 lines, 25 years of experience doing blah, blah, blah. No. It's who do I serve? How do I serve? What's the impact I want to make? What are my superpowers? That kind of thing. When I write LinkedIn profiles for people, I try to do it in such a way that really speaks to their narrative and their story. I haven't pulled one of these up in a while, but I'll just go ahead and show you one. So I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but it can be very helpful if you have something compelling like this. So this is an example of a LinkedIn profile. This is the style that I use, that I write in. So here's somebody who's an association executive. And this is what I wrote for her. Okay, so it's a story that speaks to the kind of problems, right, that she solves for her sector. And so this is not just a bio. This is really about who she is, how she does what she does, right? And so if you have these kind of writing skills and you can write something that really, really is compelling, this can be like frosting on the cake. Once the person sees that sees that your headline is right, once they see that your experience set matches, then when they go here to the about section, it kind of fleshes it out and makes you come more alive. All right. So I just wanted to show this to you guys really quickly to see, if, just to inspire you to do something that's kind of compelling.
Sure. What was the name of that person? I
Sure.
like that.
I'll put, it's Julie Coons. I'll put her,
Thank you.
yeah, I'll put her,
So I want to ask one more
thing in the
question.
chat. Yes.
So
One-
actually, I'm like applying for a project manager role. So as you said, focus on the functional point of view, right? So, but as a project manager, as a recruiter, what you look in a project manager? So I think you have good experience in as a recruiter, right?
Yeah, so I don't recruit for project managers. That's unfortunately not my expertise. But what
Okay,
I
not only project manager, what I'm saying, so what suppose what you look in people, what they looking in the project manager.
right. So again, because I don't recruit for project managers, I'm not as familiar with what they're looking for, other than I can tell you that these days agile methodology is the most common, right? And Scrum are very common for in the project management world. So that I do know. And so I don't know if that's something in India that those are methodologies that they're using.
Yeah.
But here's what I would suggest is that you go look up LinkedIn profiles of other project managers in your area where you live and see what their profiles consist of. And if you start seeing some themes where most people are adding certain kinds of skills, and if you have those skills, make sure that you add them on your LinkedIn profile. That's one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah, the other way, Kumar, is if you're in the job search, I'm sure you're looking at the jobs and you're seeing jobs posted in different places. What are they saying in those
Right.
jobs?
Right.
What are the requirements for the project manager?
Okay.
And I'm sure if you do enough of that, you'll start to see some common themes. Now, every job's going to be a little bit different depending on the company and depending on the products and services, but you'll see the big things kind of jump out for product managers, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like as Vern's saying, look for job descriptions that are project managers, and also look for LinkedIn profiles of project managers and see what the themes are. Okay. Diana, do you have another question?
Yeah, two quick ones, just as a follow-up. I had interviewed with this situation, and I mentioned it here before. 2 weeks have gone by, so I'm open to what you might suggest as a script in terms of following up. Now, the two people were the talent person who I had a lengthy interview with. That went well. I then wrote to the VP and I said it went very well. And she said, we'll be in touch. Well, I haven't heard anything. So the question is, who do I write back to? Do I write to the talent person and copy her? And what's the best way to approach this in terms of what I should be saying at this point?
Yeah. So the talent I'm because there's a talent person, I'm guessing this is a large organization.
No, it's small. It's actually very, it's like a startup. He just has that whatever his title is, but he's the sort of the recruiter. Yeah. First point of contact with anyone in the company.
Interesting. Okay. I would just write to the talent person just directly, since it's been 2 weeks, and say, hey, just a quick follow-up, see where we are in the process. Still very, interested in the opportunity, wanted to gauge this to see, it's just something very simple, right? You're just a touch base call. Now, I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to hear back right away, because this is probably a very busy person. And the fact is, Diana, if you are their top pick, they will hunt you down. So your touching base is kind of more to assuage your own emotions around this. But the reality is, if you're the one, they will find you. So there really isn't any need to touch base truthfully, other than yeah, you can re-express your interest, and that's always helpful to do. And
Mhm.
if there's anything else you want to share with them about your background, if there's anything helpful, maybe an article you want to send them or some idea that you have for them that's relevant to the role, and say, hey, I was contemplating the position, and really seems to me like you may want to consider XYZ initiative, or I was doing some research and this might be helpful. So just a friendly, hey, I'm thinking of you. I have a really interesting idea. That's a nice way, a nice reason to reach out. But if it's just a touch base, you can, but it's not necessarily
Well,
going
touching base was the words that the VP used. We will touch base. Well, they haven't, so I'm touching base.
You can, and we get this question a lot, right? Around how much should I follow up with a recruiter? How much should I follow up? The reality is this, Diana, you can touch base. You can find, but if they haven't gotten back to you, that's basically there's no news to share. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
so look, you can do it, and hopefully they will say, hey, here's where we are in the process. But I like to say these things, pack your patience. This is one egg in your basket. You can touch base just to say, hey, just wanted to just re-express my interest, find out where we are in the process. But regardless, if you are their top choice, they will follow up with you. I will say this, if you're pending with other opportunities, this is a real reason to touch base. If you're pending somewhere else, you've got something else hot, right, in the frying pan, and you're getting close to an offer, and this organization is your top choice, that is absolutely a reason to touch base and say, look, I am, you are my top choice. I am pending actively with something else. I wanted to know what the status of my candidacy, to know whether or not I should be actively pursuing this other role. That's a very good reason to touch base, because know what?
I like that.
Because if you are that company's top choice, that's going to light a fire under them. Then they're like, oh my gosh, we're about to lose Diana. I'm so glad she let us know she's about to get another offer. Then they'll actually ratchet up the process. Right now, they feel like they're in catbird seat. You haven't told them that you're interviewing other places. You haven't said that there's any competition. So they're like, yeah, if we like her, we'll get back to her in a couple weeks. We'll get back to her in 4 weeks. We still think she's going to be available. That's not true. But their perception is that our candidates are waiting for us, and we can pull them in whenever we want. It's not the case. So if you have something else you're actually pending with, that can light a fire.
And I like the sentence that you use, the status of my candidacy. I think that's just the inquiry too. So that's really good.
That's right.
I think,
Okay.
and I agree with you,
sir, yeah.
they will,
The last question I get.
they will find you. I think maybe from a job seeker standpoint, if you do send that out, and as Shira said, you can, and they do get back to you and say, well, we've been busy and that type of thing. It gives you some hope that this job is still alive and well. That doesn't mean, you're going to get the job either. I mean, you might get an interview, but you may not get the offer. So it's again, this whole, the hurdles the job seeker has to go throughout the whole search.
And there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Oh my.
It really is. And things change all the time.
Yes, sir, yeah. So the last question. Can I go
Okay.
ahead?
Let me just add another quick question. I came across a bit of an obstacle. Someone suggested I reach out to someone on LinkedIn. I looked at her profile, and I checked message, because under more there was no way to connect, but I checked message, and it brought me to Welcome to Sales Navigator. The strangest thing, I went through this list, and there's really no way to get to this person. So I didn't know what else to try next.
That's very odd, Diana, because when you go to the more button, it's always supposed to give you a connect. Always.
Yeah, and it didn't. And it
Why?
gave me a message to Kathy, but that sent me to Sales Navigator, which was extremely strange. So
Yeah, I don't know why it would send you to sales. That is very odd. I've never heard that before.
all right. I thought I'd
Yeah,
ask.
sorry. That's really unusual. You're supposed to have.
Okay, good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So the question is like, so as a recruiter, you recruit for the management, marketing, like example you told, right?
You're asking if I recruit for marketing professionals? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So what I'm telling is, suppose there are 100 applications you got. Okay. So I'm among that 100 applications. So around 5 members are performing very well. So how do you decide? So the position is only one. You have only one position. So how do you select that candidate? What do you look in that candidate?
Right. So most recruiters are looking for as close to an exact skill and background match as possible. So there's two sides to it. There's what the person's profession is, and then there's the industry background. It's two different things.
Yeah. So what I'm telling is, in among 100, you have to recruit only one candidate. That is the right choice, right decision we have to take. Correct?
If I'm understanding your question, how do I go from the 100 people to the one person?
Yes.
Okay.
Only
So-
one position is there.
So the first thing is I go through the 100 people and
Yeah.
I have to do some initial screening out. So I have to see who is the person that is the closest skill match, the closest background match to my job. I'll give you an example. Let's just say it's a marketing professional. First of all, of those 100 people, many of those people are not even going to be qualified. I'm going to probably get a lot of people out of those 100 who don't have even a marketing background, or maybe they're too junior, or maybe they're too senior, or maybe they come from the wrong industry. Like I do a lot of work in the nonprofit sector, and if it's people from the corporate background, I may not screen those people in first because my client said to me, we want people from a nonprofit background. So all those corporate people are going to get pushed off to the side. Then I have to look at the industry, the title. I'm looking for a director of marketing, but maybe that some of the people out of this 100 are marketing coordinators. Maybe they're not going to get screened in, or maybe they're, senior vice presidents. They're probably not going to get screened in because I'm looking for somebody at a certain level. So quickly, I'm going to be able to narrow down from the 100 to a much smaller pool, maybe 20. And in those 20, then I have to start looking. And it might be that I interview all those 20, maybe. It just depends, but I can't interview 100 because I don't have time for that. But yeah, I could probably interview 15, 20 people. And so I'll look and see who's worth my time, because I don't have time to interview tons and tons of people. So it just depends. I'm looking at title, I'm looking at their skill set, I'm looking at their industry background, I'm looking at their level of experience. Sometimes I have to look at geography. If the person has to be working locally and they have to be on site, and the person who applied is from somewhere else in the country, I'll have to, maybe put them off the site, or maybe if they're really great, they're really great fit, I might reach out to them and say, did you notice that the job was local? Are you really open to working here locally? Or maybe it's a person who's got a great background, but maybe their title's a little too high or too low. I might reach out and say, did you notice that the level is here and not here? So I might use some of those qualifiers to reach out and say, when you saw the job description, did you notice that the job's a little different from what you've been doing in the past, right? That kind of thing. So hopefully that helps.
So that is fine, but do you put some kind of pressure kind of questions on the candidate, or how do you put under pressure, or how do you recruit?
Do I put screening questions in the application?
Yes.
Yeah, I typically don't. That's my choice. I typically don't do that. Sometimes I do. If it's a rare thing, if I say, I'm looking for this many years of experience, do you have it? I might do that. Typically, I want to be able to see the resume and decide if I feel like the person is the right fit. There are plenty of recruiters that do use screening questions. That's very normal. They might have 3, 4, or 5 questions, especially, Kumar, if it's a technical job. I would imagine that a recruiter would do that.
Yeah. So
Do
why
you
I'm
have?
asking is, so I
Yeah.
got a situation actually. So what I'm telling, so you said around 15, right? Among 15, there are 5 members they are really well. Then you have to take the decision. Among 5, one have to select. So is there any previously you face any situation like that?
I'm so sorry, I didn't understand the question. Could you say that again?
Yeah. I'm telling. See, you said you will interview 15 members, right? Around 15 members. So there are five people are selected for final round, like your round. So among 5, all are performing well. So how do you decide which one will be the final one? Finally, you will select.
Yeah, well, that has to do with the interview. When I actually interview all of these people, I'm looking for other kinds of things.
Everybody performing well here.
I'm sorry?
Everybody is performing well. Everybody giving good answers to you. You are impressed with all 5 members.
Well, then I would send them to the client. I would have the employer then meet all those people.
Client having only one question.
So if I have 5 people that are great, I'm going to send them to the client, and they're going to be able to interview. And then we start looking for cultural fit. We start looking for how the person thinks. We start thinking about, are they a critical thinker? Are they going to fit in well with the team? Do they have, when maybe we do a deep dive into certain skill sets, we ask about certain soft skills that we think are going to be very appropriate. So from a resume perspective, first we have to look at skills in industry. Then when we narrow it down to the people who do have all the skills in industry, then we're going to be looking at the soft skills, cultural fit. We also look at their career motivators. At least I do. I want to understand if somebody actually wants this job. Is this job right for their career? I just had this happen yesterday or 2 days ago. I was interviewing somebody and I asked her questions about her career. Where does she want to go and what does she want to do? And there were certain skills that she said to me. She says, I want to do da 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 da. And I don't really like doing da 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 da. And I said to her, these other things you said that you don't really like to do, that's actually the majority of this job. I don't think you're going to be happy. She goes, oh, thank you for letting me know. So we had a nice 10-minute conversation and that was it. Because even though she was qualified for the job, it turns out that she didn't really want to do the majority of the work that was in this job. But I would not have known that from her resume. I had to have a conversation and ask her, what do you want to do? Where do you want to focus your skills? When she told me that, I could help her make a good decision that this actually wasn't the right job for her. So there's a lot of things that we recruiters think about to make sure that it's a good fit for the company and it's a good fit for the candidate.
Yeah, Kumar, another way to think about the whole job search process from the standpoint of a job seeker is, it's like a funnel. And, at the top of the funnel, there's lots of people looking at the same job and applying for the same job. And then there's recruiters that are reducing the number of people, in the search.
Yeah. So
Right.
the funnel's up here and we're narrowing down to the few.
And almost, I can't imagine any recruiter or company interviewing just one person. It won't be, when you say get it to the one person, the one person's the person that's going to get the job. They're going to get the job offer. Yeah. But it'll typically be at least 3 candidates and, sometimes
five candidates, 7 candidates. Yeah.
So,
so we have to narrow it to a realistic pool of people, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. Those are the people we interview and they get put through the process. So maybe they'll start with me as a recruiter. I'm meeting 15 people and I narrow it down to 6 people. And I take those 6 people and I bring them over to the employer. And then they do a first round of interviews. And then they narrow it down to, let's say, the top 2 or 3 people. They go to another round and we narrow until finally we all feel that it's the right fit. Skill, culture, salary, career motivations. We look at everything to make sure that really this person is going to be an ideal match.
So what is mean by culture? I didn't understand.
I'm sorry?
Culture, you said culture, right?
Culture. Mm-hmm.
So what exactly, what are the points will be there?
It depends. So for example, I'll give you an example. You know Amazon, right? So Amazon has a very particular culture. In their culture, they usually only hire people who are very I'll use the term aggressive, but what I mean is that people who like to challenge everything. They're very kind of hard charging and they are innovative and they're always pushing the envelope and they are kind of aggressive in their thinking, which is going to be very different than, let's say, a law firm or maybe a nonprofit. Like maybe the nonprofit is trying to hire people who are aligned with their mission and who are very compassionate, who really care about people and, very friendly and team oriented. I'm giving you an exaggeration here. Okay. But those are two very different kinds of cultures. So if I'm recruiting for Amazon, I might be looking for somebody who's very aggressive and innovative and hard charging. If I'm working for a nonprofit, again, I might be looking for the person who's very sensitive, compassionate, mission driven, that kind of thing. So when we look at cultures, it has to do with how the organization likes to engage its people.
Yeah, so in the Amazon culture, the other way I would say it is you need to be very thick-skinned.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are going to give you feedback. They're going to say
That's right.
not right. We've got to make this better.
That's right.
You've got to do a better job. And as long as you're one of those hard charging people and you look at that and say, okay, we've got to make this better versus, oh my God, my feelings are hurt. Then you're not a very good
Doesn't
fit
work.
for the Amazon
right.
culture.
That's exactly right. Yeah. In fact, Amazon has something called the 14 leadership principles. You could find it online. And they're 14 values. And every single candidate is interviewed based on those principles. They're very serious about it. You have to be that certain way to work there and to be successful. But again, a nonprofit is probably not going to use those principles. It's going to be probably something very different.
Yeah, got you.
All right. So I'm looking at the time. Any other last minute questions here? All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And for those of you who want to stay on the call afterwards, I do a short prayer call. So I'll pray for people who would like some prayer. And otherwise, for anyone else, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. All right. Have a blessed day, everybody.